Okay, so here we go with lesson 2 of chapter 6, which is about the climate of the Southeast. So climate is kind of another way to say weather, but it means more of a long-term type of a thing. Okay, so and the big question for this lesson is I will know that the Southeast location gives the region a warm climate and varied weather. So generally warm, but not just warm all the time. Okay. Heading south is something many Americans like to do in the winter. A cold January day in Chicago is likely a warm January day in Miami. The Southeast climate is not all the same, however. It changes from the coast to the mountains, it changes from north to south, and it changes from season to season. Climate of the Southeast. The climate of the Southeast is mild. In most of the Southeast, average January temperatures are above freezing. A warm climate means a long growing season. A growing season is the part of the year when temperatures are warm enough for plants to grow. In some parts of the Southeast, the growing season can be as long as 300 days a year. So what that means is that the Southeast is a really good place to farm. So, like oranges, for example. I used to live in California. And if oranges ever freeze and they sort of grow over the winter time, then that's really bad. And what they just said there was that they hardly ever do that. Okay, so you can farm 300 days a year sometimes in the Southeast. Okay, living in a mild climate. Across the Southeast, people can enjoy the outdoors for much of the year. People spend time hunting, fishing, hiking, and playing on sandy beaches. With its miles of coastline, the Southeast is a perfect place for water sports. Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, was the nation's first national seashore. Visitors camp and explore about 30,000 acres there. At Virginia Beach, Virginia, surfers compete in surfing competitions every year. Key West is another favorite. A key is a low island. Key West is one of a string of keys off Florida's southern coast. More than 1 million people visit it every year. They come to dive in the warm waters, eat fish, and find shells. Climate affects how people build their homes, too. In Florida, many houses have a screened porch called a Florida room. You can be inside and outside at the same time. Sometimes it's too hot to be outdoors. People turn on the air conditioning inside to solve that problem. Okay, so this is a picture at the bottom of Florida's Miami Beach. So that's a major, major tourist attraction. A lot of people go there. Okay, hurricanes. Sometimes the Southeast weather can be dangerous. Hurricanes strike the Southeast more than any other region. A hurricane is a powerful storm. Hurricanes form in warm areas such as the waters off the Southeast. Warm air rises from the ocean and hits cooler air above. The temperature difference can generate strong winds. So, if you're going to live in this area, the green area on that map, then you might have to deal with some hurricanes. Not might, really. You're going to. Hurricanes begin as tropical storms. The National Weather Service gives each storm a name. When the winds reach 74 miles per hour, the storm becomes a hurricane. About 6 storms become hurricanes each year. In 2005, one particular hurricane was very severe, Hurricane Katrina. A hurricane's winds move in a circle. At its center is the eye of the storm. The strong winds can cause a storm surge. This is when the ocean's level rises as water is pushed toward shore. Hurricanes also bring heavy rain, huge waves, and flooding. Okay, so here at the map, we have the path of Hurricane Katrina. So it's these storms, they start out in the ocean, which is sort of where they gain, right, with all that warm air. And then the colors show how fast the wind is moving inside of that storm. So as the color gets darker, it picks way up, okay? And so it became very severe here. This is when it was really growing, right? The winds were going very fast. It hit New Orleans and the surrounding area and went up, but died out, right? You can see that the wind is becoming slower. And the things that do so much damage, really, like in New Orleans especially, they're surrounded by water. That they talked about how The storm surge causes water levels to rise, and that's why you get a lot of flooding. So there was a lot of flooding in New Orleans and in other areas when the hurricane came. You know, it's one thing to get prepared for a windy day, but when it causes the water level to rise 10 or 15 feet, that's very difficult to be ready for. Okay, effects of hurricanes. The hurricane season lasts from June to the end of November. During this period, hurricanes form in the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico. Some are small, some move in a direction away from the land. Others lose their strength before they hit the land. But some hurricanes cause severe damage when they hit the southeast. Every few years, a major hurricane strikes the region. Hurricane Andrew hit Florida hard in 1992. It caused more than $26 billion in damages. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina became the costliest natural disaster in American history with over $100 billion in damages. When it hit land in Mississippi, the storm surge was more than 26 feet high. So that's what we were just talking about. The water level rose 26 feet. In New Orleans, the storm caused terrible flooding. More than 1 million people had to leave the city and surrounding area. Overall, more than 1,800 people died as a result of Katrina. It was a terrible storm. And we have a primary source quote here. It says, "We must take a careful look at what went wrong and make sure it never happens again." Louisiana Governor Kathleen Blanco. So when they talk about what went wrong, you know, we knew this storm was coming for days. And part of what went wrong was getting people out of there. So, you know, the 1,800 people who died, they may not have had a way to leave. They may not have had another place to go. And when we know that a very severe storm is coming, to keep people from dying or just being injured, we need to be able to get them out of the way and to safety. So that's what they're talking about. We didn't do a good job of that with Hurricane Katrina. After Katrina, people across the nation wanted to help. More than 1 million people volunteered to rebuild Louisiana and Mississippi. People came to build houses. Others provided medical care. Many helped by giving money or serving food. So this is after the storm had passed. There was a large effort by a lot of people to rebuild. Okay, volunteers gave millions of hours of service after Hurricane Katrina. And, you know, it's great that people are willing to do that, but it's also likely to happen again. There will be more hurricanes. There will be more damage, and people will end up rebuilding. Maybe not in that exact same place, but it will happen again. Okay, handling floods. Hurricanes are not the only time when water is a danger. The Mississippi River travels through 5 states in the southeast. Sometimes the river floods. When the nation's largest river floods, there can be major consequences. Along the Mississippi River, people have built levees. A levee is a dirt or concrete wall. It keeps water from overflowing the riverbanks. When the water gets too high, however, it can overflow or break through a levee. What causes the high water? Often heavy rains swell the river. The flood of 1927 was one of the worst floods in the nation's history. Heavy rains began in late 1926. By January 1927, the Mississippi River flooded 27,000 square miles. That May, the river water spread across 70 miles of land near Memphis, Tennessee. In May 2010, there were terrible floods in Tennessee, Kentucky, and Mississippi. More than 13 inches of rain fell in just 2 days. The Cumberland River flooded and water spread out over Nashville, Tennessee, causing damage. Many people take action when a river floods. The National Weather Service alerts people living near the river when it rises. National, state, and local workers and volunteers pile bags of sand to raise the levees. When towns are flooded, groups like the American Red Cross help too. And we have a picture here that says, "I think floods are worse than hurricanes." The flood of 1927 was one of the worst floods in American history. So they were talking about flooding. Okay, so flooding can happen as a result of a storm coming in with a storm surge, but we also have rivers. This is the Mississippi River. It comes right down. A lot of states border the Mississippi River, and when it floods over the levees, the areas right near it are going to get flooded, and that causes a lot of damage. You know, when you have 2 foot of water in your house is pretty much ruined. Okay, being prepared. Most of the time, When people in the Southeast enjoy good, the people in the Southeast enjoy good weather. When the weather turns bad there, people are prepared. Today, people can get weather news quickly and easily. Television, computers, and even cell phones can give weather alerts. When there is danger, officials may call for evacuation of an area. This means that people are moved to safety. In coastal areas, people need protection from hurricanes. They need houses that can stand up to strong winds or high waves. In Florida and the Carolinas, new houses have special roofs and windows. Whatever the weather, the people of the Southeast are ready. And then they show a house. Houses near a coast have special designs. They may be built up high to avoid damage from a storm surge. So if the water level rose, you know, to this point, that house would be okay. If it gets up higher than that, which is hard to imagine, but I think it's a thing that happens, then that house would still be damaged. Okay. It says, describe the weather in the Southeast region and explain how it changes. So they talked about that at the beginning, how the weather is generally warm. You have a long growing season, as long as 300 days, but you know, they get storms, they have seasons. So even though it is generally warm, much warmer than Oklahoma is, they still have some ups and downs. Okay, so question 2 says, you have a new job in the Southeast. You are working at the nation's national main weather channel. Describe the weather on a day when a hurricane is forming in the Atlantic. So, when a hurricane is forming and coming in, it says warm air rises from the ocean and hits cooler above, creates strong winds. So you might be feeling some wind. Hurricanes begin as tropical storms. As they come in, they are reported to people. As they get closer, the water level will rise, heavy rain, huge waves, flooding. So if a hurricane is heading in, those are the types of things you're going to be seeing. And then it says, describe how the environment of the Southeast coast might be harmed by tourism. Well, you know, if you think about just environment, right? All these people that we see, you know, people come with trash and things and they leave stuff behind. Okay. Also just, you know, the act of traveling to a place. If a lot of people are traveling to a place, that puts a lot of vehicles in that area, which comes with pollution, comes with traffic, comes with just a lot of consequences of a lot of people trying to get to one place. So pollution, I would say, is the main way to answer that question. Okay, that is the end of lesson 2. There will be an assignment with that on Seesaw, but hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea of what the weather and climate is like in the Southeast region of the United States. Have a nice day.